not to be the best fiddler. His goal was to keep fiddling alive for future generations. And he has done that in an admirable way. If you look at the handout, he was the president of the Oregon Oldtime Fiddlers. He was the hoedowner chair. He was the chair, co-chair, and secretary for District 5. But as Carol Ann Wheeler said to me, he did so many other things that people don't realize he did. He was a big force behind the fiddle contest. And I know a lot of people don't necessarily go or play at the fiddle contest, but if your goal is to promote fiddling amongst the youth and have that youth perpetuate the fiddling for future generations, that is where you find the most kids showing up, and those kids get serious about it, and they go on into the future, and they're teaching more people all over the place. So basically, Carol Ann Wheeler, who is also an Oregon fiddler who has taught many, many people, she said that Lew's greatly responsible for the survival of the organization, and he did a great deal behind scenes that people don't know. Does someone have music going somewhere on some phone? Can someone's phone please go off? Okay. I feel like I'm lecturing in class and saying, no phones. I have some older students that he came up with before. But what Alex and Tati said was, growing up and attending OOTFA events, Lew was a constant source of kindness and support. He was very welcoming to us as little kids and then later as teenagers. When we were nervous in anticipation of our contest rounds, he would often come into the back room or backstage and be a calming presence. Thinking back to those formative times in our musical lives, Lew Holt has always been an integral part of these memories. We're grateful for the support he gave us and to the fiddlers all around Oregon. It's rare and special to have someone who cares and gives so much to a community. And Lew Holt was one of these people. Thank you, Lew. Okay, and that was from Alex and Tatiana. They wrote that in. And as I said, not only was he involved in the contests, but for years he organized the fiddle conventions that we would have. And they started out in Roseburg. We used to have 400 people at those things. And he would put these shows together, and he'd get people up there who put on a show, and we'd get the public coming in, and then the public would see the fiddling, and then other people would want to pick it up. And that's really what he did, was he promoted it. We had these conventions up in Rickreall as well, and now they have them back in Roseburg, and we're hoping that you will continue to come. He did the fiddle contest for many years, and then in about mid-90s, he turned to me and said, I want you to be my co-chair for the fiddle contest. And I said, well, why? He said, well, because the fiddle contest was running really, really late. It would go to like midnight, and people would be sitting out there going, oh, I have to play another round at 11:30 at night. And that was partially because Lew loved everybody, and everybody would come up to him and say, hey, could we play a couple tunes and sing a couple songs between the junior and the junior rounds? And they'd go, okay. And so it would go on and on and on. And so he said, I want you to take over as co-chair, and I'm going to send all the people to you. And I said, okay. And he said, and then you can work on the time. And not one person ever came up and asked him to play between those rounds. And so we ended up getting done at a decent hour. And so I continued helping him in Corvallis and in Lebanon for many years. And then Amy Bohr up in Salem, Corvallis and Salem, she took over. And she had started out as a kid. She was, she started and she took lessons from the Bohr family, who I thought they might be here, but I don't see them. But she said her earliest memories of Lew are of his encouraging words and fervent urging to get up on stage at the Polk County Fair. And they were playing a show, and she was just really nervous. But he made her get up, and he was super excited. I managed to struggle through Ragtime Annie at the time. And back when we started, back in the 80s and 90s, we used to play Ragtime Annie. That was the first tune we ever played at any event. By the time Amy was in her late 20s and she wanted to help us out, she and Eileen Walter, who's here somewhere, I don't know where she went. They say she's right there, but I don't see her. Where? Oh, there she is. she and Amy both had a lot of fiddle students, and Lew was really excited about that until he looked and saw that there were 30 juniors, and he had to get them through the time period. But that was the kind of person he was. He just wanted those kids to play. And she says, he showed me the power of complete dedication to something one believes in, consentless and relentless in his supporters of the fiddlers. He was the first one at most events and usually the last one to leave because he was cleaning up. And he processed all the scores, kept track of all the tunes. He's a virtual encyclopedia of Oregon old-time fiddling. And in the late 1990s, Roger Dermotson, who was the president of the organization, asked him to write a brief history of the Oregon old-time fiddlers, which resulted in one of Lew's epic works. And a copy of that is sitting over on the table over there. It belongs to Judy McGarvey. I looked it up online. It's 178 pages long. And it starts out explaining how the Oregon old-time fiddlers started in the 1960s and the evolution through about 1997. And that was the kind of thing he did, just did it, you know, and he was great. As he got older, I have to say one of the things I respect most about him is he realized that it was getting a little much for him to do the contest by himself, so he would take on extra people. And he pretty much shepherded Amy and Eileen to taking over the contest, and because he just knew he couldn't keep up with it. But he always was very positive, always positive, you know, anytime we were all around. Okay, so I think that's the end of my introduction here. Did I forget anything? I'm not sure. I was going through the old hoedowners. I noticed that Alice and Lew were both membership chairs at one point in time for the Oregon Old-Time Fiddlers. And we talk about Lew a whole lot, but you know that Alice was always there with him. And Alice was a pretty good fiddler. And somebody mentioned to me the other day that, you know, she usually beat Lew at fiddle contests. And that's because she played really well. And, but one time I remember Lew beat her, and he was going, oh, this is not, you know, this is going to be good. But anyway, but he would come all the time. He supported every activity the fiddlers do. So, what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite a few people up here on stage to make some comments and make some, tell special memories of Lew and when they met him, and also play a tune or two. And then if we have time at the end, we'll do another circle jam. You guys were doing a great job earlier playing through a lot of those old tunes that we used to play. We still do. Okay, so I'm gonna have Jerry and Linda and Patty.
That I made the mistake of doing was asking Lew if he needed any help. And for the next 5 or 6 or 8 years, however long it was, I was in charge of putting the stage together every year. So, but it was, I guess, the most pictures I have of Lew, because I always took a picture of him. It didn't matter what event we were at some point you could get a picture of Lew sleeping in his chair. I mean, and it used to kind of worry me because the chairs didn't have any arms on them, and I kept thinking he's going to fall off on his face one of these days, but he never did. But I've got numerous pictures of Lew sleeping while the rest of us are jamming. So one of the things that he always did, for a public performance, he played a medley of tunes in G. And I can't remember if he started with Maggie or one of those tunes. But at some point in his medley, he always played You Are My Sunshine. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do. And by the way, Lew, like Star said, Lew entered the contest every year, just like I did, and we traded out for last place most of the time. So we were not competitors, we were participants. feet. A short version of this.
Andy, and we're going to do one called Boilin' Cabbage. So clap your hands, tap your feet. This is an old-time fiddle tune. Ready? Guys? Hey.
Appreciate all that he did for us when he lived in District 8. He kind of kept us together through the COVID years very well. He ended up having to take almost all of the jobs himself. But he did it, along with, you never can have a hero without a hero's bass, Miss Alice. Thank you, Alice, for all of your support and that you helped out with as well. Are you still, there you are. I see you now. And so we remember quite a few things about Lew, and I want Darlene to tell about the number of years they kept this going with their Wednesday night teaching jams. And that was one of the best benefits we had for quite some time while we worked to grow our district. And Darlene, go ahead.
Well, I'm one of the last Mohicans. a lot of us have gone to visit, to be with children, or passed away, or moved away to be in assisted livings. So there's very few people left. But I remember well the Wednesday night practices and the songs that Lew and Alice worked to bring us. I don't know that we'll play it today, but there's one called the Gum Stump Canoe. And I don't know which came first, the gum stump or the possum on the gum stump or the gum stump canoe. But anyway, there's two songs there right there. So there's something about fiddle music that has an answer to all of life's situations. I wouldn't call them problems because there's a lot of situations. But if there's a situation, there's going to be a name for it too. And Lew and Alice had a lot of those songs for us.
Okay. One of the things that we love to hear him play, because some of us could do the backup for him as well, and Alice used to do it all the time. So it's a pretty little waltz called Blue Darlin'. Okay, it's in D, dog. You'd hear Lew play quite a bit as well. When we were young Maggie. Well, yeah, you and I were around.
This is a fiddle that started out with Charlie Sandusky over in Klamath Falls. And a lot of you might remember Faye Patterson, also Klamath Falls. Anyway, Charlie, as most of us knew him by Sandy, but he he decided Faye needed another fiddle, so he gave her this fiddle. Well, after she got it, she decided she wanted the 5-string. So she sends it up to Lew, and Lew puts a new neck on it for her. She gets it back, and she wasn't real fond of the 5-string fiddle. So she sells it at convention up at Rickville, or at Roseburg. Sold it to Guy Kingman. Most of you remember Guy Kingman. He didn't like it as a 5-string either, but he just took the C-string off and played it as a 4-string. Anyway, years later, the wife, she calls Guy Kingman up and asks if he was ready to sell that 5-string fiddle, and he says, no, I'm still playing it. So, a few years goes by, he comes up to me and he says, you still interested in that fiddle? And I said, sure, what do you got to have for it? He says, $500. Remind you, Faye Patterson sold it for $200, come in a nice fiddle case with two fiddle case, double fiddle case if you call it, with the one fiddle, and 2 bows. I got a fiddle. But anyway, and the bow. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's got one piece here and a separate piece here and a separate piece here. And the frogs broke. Anyway, somebody dropped this off in front of my dad's front door one time. A whole bunch of sticks. So Dad, he gathers them up. He's always sending stuff up for Lew to work on, rehair, to make one stick. Brings it to Burns, and Lew puts a tag on here that says Homer McLean on it. So Dad, he writes $5,000 on it. He runs around playing it around. He gets a lot of people chuckle. And it's not a very good stick. Anyway, we're going to play a little tune called Red Sails in the Sunset. D-key, yeah? I think it was '82 that Alice and Lew come down to Lakeview. Lew was president. And they come down to Lakeview and visit. We had a jam. That's the first time I met them. And so they had a pretty slow day there. Daddy wasn't working. They'd load up in a pickup and they'd go for a little trip about 60 miles over the hill to visit the neighboring towns. So they visit Cedarville, and then they go back up towards Adel, which is another 40 miles probably. So Dad decided they'd run them out and go see the burros out in Nevada. So they go head out towards Denial, and there's a real steep grade coming back to Lakeview. It's called Doherty Slide. There's no guardrail or anything. It's about 6% grade, I think. It's pretty steep. It comes down through there. 3 miles of it. Anyway, they're going down the grade. Lew's told me this story half a dozen times or better. Anyway, he says, we get about halfway down the hill, and he says, your dad starts telling us about the heart attack he had. Thanks, guys.
Well, I'm up here that if you're with the Oldtime Fiddlers, you hear some old-time stories. If you hear them from third party, you're never quite sure of the authenticity. but they're unforgettable sometimes. And it seems like Lew was standing by the row of guitars and instruments, fiddles and such, that are for sale or for auction or raffle. And somebody walked up and says, I heard about your fiddle and bow. And he hands him a bow and says, what's the difference between my bow and your bow? Lew takes the bow and he looks at it and he hands it back. About $10,000.
Okay, I think Alice has a couple of words she'd like to, she hasn't started.
I thank you all for being here, for Lew, like you always have been, and I would like to say a few words about him. That some of the things, you all know he was a really busy person, and he did some things that probably none of you know about too. I wanted to talk about a little bit about some of those things, but so hard to read my own handwriting anymore. He had a lot of hobbies, interests and things. He collected clocks. Steve, my older son here, took a couple, it's going to take a couple of them back home to Seattle area with him. And this is Tim, my younger son. We have a daughter in between the two boys, but we lost her to cancer some years back. So. Anyway, some of the things that Lew did, we lived at North Bend. He taught school in North Bend for his whole teaching career, 30 years, I believe. He turned 55 and had been teaching 30 years, so he retired because he had a lot of other things he wanted to do too. Among other things, he took a pottery class at the community college in East Bay, and he turned out to be a pretty darn good potter. He could throw pots like anybody's business. And then they fire them and he'd give them away or whatever. So, but it was fun doing. Another thing he did was traveling. The two boys could probably tell lots of stories about traveling. We discovered all you have to do is get in your car and drive. You can go anywhere. Our car and us all have been, and we drove to 49 states. Lew and I finally got to Hawaii on our 50th anniversary. And that's been quite a few years back. So actually we were married 71 years altogether, almost 72 next month. Would have been our 72nd anniversary. So, when you get a good one, hang on to it. Another thing he did that you may not have known about, he had a pilot's license at one time. He grew up in Dallas area, north of here a bit, closer to Falls City than that, but he lived with his mother and 4 boys. There were 4 boys in the family altogether, no girls. 3 of them became teachers. So that was, they lived right across the river, the Lakimia River, from the schoolhouse at Bridgeport. And that was kind of the old swimming hole for people from town and whatever to come out and swim there in the river that they have right in their backyard. Let's see what he wrote a book. Somebody mentioned to me a minute ago that they were reading his book. It's called Brothers of War, and it was just a kind of a history of people that were served on the same ship. And then became friends with him anyway. Okay, we first joined the Fiddlers when we lived in North Bend, so that was District 5. We moved to Salem, that was District 6, and now to Corvallis, which is District 8, so we've been in 3 fiddle districts altogether. Some of the pictures and photographs and the little handouts and in the paper have been about Lew, including some pictures of him. Steve's wife is the one who painted the pictures. There's another one over here of the 2 of us together. We're playing outside somewhere. I'm not wearing a hat or anything. Anyway, I've always said fiddle friends are the best. And you guys all really prove it to me. I just appreciate you all so much. And appreciate that you really enjoyed Lew and appreciated what he did for the organization and all that. So, okay, that's about all I can say, I guess. So, nice talking to all of you.
A couple of you mentioned the fact that we always say, well, could you help me with such and such, and then being really nice. 2 quick things on that. One of them is why my wife did so many things for the fiddlers and the hoedown is because Dad would say, hey, would you do a drawing of such and such? So if you're familiar with this cup, right, with the family, she's the one that did the other 3 members of the family as well. That was one of those cases where he said, well, would you do this? Now, just a hint for all of us, Dad spent the last few years in assisted living. And what we discovered is he continued being really nice to everybody there. And it was very glaringly obvious that he got a lot better care than other people did. So just a little bit of a lesson for all of us.
Next we have Lew Holt to make a couple of comments. She was the chair of the Oregon Oldtime Fiddle Contest after Lew decided to turn it over to her. And she's going to play, she's going to say something, I think? Very little bit, and then she'll play a tune. And after that, we're going to have the one instrument that you haven't heard up here, because you've been focusing on fiddles. We're going to have Janet Bramer bring up her hammer dulcimer, and then make a couple of comments. I see I have a couple more additions to the menu today. So Jackie, Jim, Annie, and this is Mike.
No fair.
As is the case of last year, Lew was one of my favorite people of all time. And he, his intelligence was hard to hit me and make it to the never training. But most of all, he just never seemed to get ruffled about anything. He was always calm, and he always treated everyone really nicely. And so maybe not totally successful, but I tried to use him as a role model, especially when I was running a contest. And you just picture Lew, the picture of calmness when he was running a contest, and I thought, okay, I'm going to be like that, hopefully. But anyway, I appreciated him, and I appreciated him handing the contest over to me, because it was a lot of fun. Oh, I'm going to play a tune called Maynard's Racket. Fiddle didn't like the real cold back of my car on the way down here from Portland, so it's adjusting.
MC had had a motorcycle accident like 2 days before. And so we didn't have an MC. And when they drove in, Royalty went, aha, Lew, would you MC the contest? And so, without any preparation, for the next 2 days, he was busy. And that's kind of what I remember most about Lew, is he always stepped up and helped. He was a man of many interests. He played a whole bunch of instruments. He knew one song on the hammered dulcimer, and that was Soldier's Joy. He built a hammered dulcimer, and he collected, subscribed to the hammered dulcimer news, well, the dulcimer player news, and when I started playing, one day he came up and he had a sack, and he brought his entire collection of dulcimer player news and gifted me the complete, from day one of that magazine, which was absolutely incredible. So I still have those and enjoy them. Anyway, wonderful folks. I want to play a couple of songs in memory of Lew. One is called Riverboat Gone. It was written by April Verge in memory of John Hartford. And I feel like Lew and John Hartford have a lot in common in that they were incredibly interesting men with a lot of interest, and they shared those interests among many, many people. And then the second is Lokieville Two-Step, written by Matilda Murdoch of Nova Scotia. And I just feel like this is a tune that Lew would have enjoyed. Wrong note.
it on now? Yeah. I'll have to eat the germs here. Alice and I were in contest in Oregon State 17, and we played, and she came up to me afterwards and said, you know, I was ahead of you in that second song, but of course didn't work out the way. You don't remember that, do you? Anyway, as far as Lew goes, one time a few years ago, we were at the church in Junction City with Darla's funeral, and I met Al coming out in the parking lot, and I said, oh, hi, Al, how are you doing? Lew, excuse me. How you doing? You're looking good. And he said, well, you know, there's 3 phases in life. There's the youth, you know, and then middle age, and then there's, you're looking good. This song is called Chancellor's Waltz, and it's dedicated to Lew.
So like Star said, well, I started playing fiddle a little bit older for a young kid, but not as old as some of you guys, and I was about 14 when I learned my first tune. And I heard that there was going to be this Oregon State fiddle contest. And I had been going, I'm from Pendleton originally, and I had been going to the Blue Mountain Oldtime Fiddlers. And I thought, this is kind of easy stuff. I could play boil and cabbage pretty good. And I talked to my fiddle teacher, Peg Willis, and I said, I want to go to this fiddle contest. All the way down in, I think it was it here in Lebanon? I think so, yeah. And anyway, we decided to come down to this fiddle contest, and she told me I shouldn't go. She said, you know what, you probably shouldn't go to the fiddle contest because you're not really ready, you don't know a lot of tunes. And I went anyway, and it was on my 15th birthday, it was my first contest ever, and I was so shy, I wouldn't talk to anybody or say anything to anybody. I'm still kind of that way, but so I got in the fiddle contest, and Lew was one of the first people that I met, and he was really calming, and I really needed that because I was super nervous. And I wound up getting 5th place in the fiddle contest. Yeah, and I won a trophy and $50. I didn't tell you, there were only 5 people. So I was dead last, I was horrible. And it was kind of a cool thing for me because because my birthday was on the fiddle contest, and every like so many years my birthday would line up. So anyway, my first contest I was 15, and then the last contest that I went to until last year here, I was on my 21st birthday, and I won that one, and I won the Open. So I went from like last place to winning the Open in the contest, and Lew was there the whole time. And you know what? He really was super calming. He was super kind. And that encouraged me, and I've gone on and I've taught a lot of fiddle students. We have, shortly after my 21st birthday when I won the fiddle contest, my husband and I got married, and we moved to Idaho. I've been in Idaho, and we've had a bunch of fiddle students. We've taught, we have a little Strings for Kids program where we give free lessons, and we've had like 4,000 kids go through it. And we've taught a bunch of kids fiddle, and they've got a lot of free violin lessons. And I have to say, thanks to all of you guys in the Oregon Oldtime Fiddlers, you've inspired us. So it's really nice to be able to keep the music going on. It's mattered a lot. It's changed everything in my life. I don't know what I would have done without it. Anyway, I love the old-time fiddle music, and thank you all. And thanks, Alice. And Lew really has a special spot in my heart. And I think I played Red Wing at that first fiddle contest. Did that work? Oh, and I took lessons from Mr. Rudy Board.
I know Rudy.
Yeah, he's a pretty good guy. He also, is he? Oh my goodness.
He's almost as old as Andy.
Oh my goodness.
We're the same age. So I thought I'd just say really briefly that Lew was a fantastic role model, probably one of the greatest on the planet. And I'm reading about Lew here, and I realize we both went to the same college. That's Oregon College of Education. I went there. It's in Monmouth, Oregon. I went there when it was Western Oregon State College, and it's now a university. But Lew was a really fantastic person, and I think when I think of Lew, I think of this person that kind of coined, you don't have to be old to be an old-time fiddler. And Lew really did an amazing job of, if you were a little kid of 12 years old, or 14, or 10, or 60, or 52, he would kind of take you and make you feel comfortable to play in a fiddle contest or get ready to go on a stage, because Lew, like any time when there was a fiddle, it was kind of a celebration. And so Lew would oftentimes say, look, it's just a microphone. It won't bite you, I promise. So if you step up to the microphone and think about what you're going to do before you get there. But if you know what you're doing and you feel like, well, I have this fiddle, I might as well just go up there and play. So Lew, I have wonderful, wonderful memories. And I think I got started with fiddle playing when I was about 11, and I grew up in Salem. And I remember my very first fiddle contest, I don't even know what the name of it was, but it was in Forest Grove, I think. And I went there, I think I knew 3 tunes, and I think I played against some really, really special people, and they included, and they were really close to my age, Grant Wheeler, who was this amazing fiddle player. Oh, and his younger sister, Tiffany, they were amazing. And I think I went to a fiddle contest and I thought, you know, it's really cool to be a fiddle. It's just really, really cool. And I always felt this, and I guess it's easy to say with Lew that I have very, very fond memories. I have an older brother, his name is Dan Emmert. He lives in Walla Walla, Washington. And we were reminiscing, and we thought that how cool it was that Lew rather selflessly put on this amazing festival known as the Fiddle Contest for a very long time, and he did it with such elegance and grace. And he just made you feel really comfortable, and he's definitely somebody to celebrate, and he's just such a fantastic, fantastic person. And I have to also thank you very much, Alice, because I think behind every very smart person that's very confident, it takes a very, very confident wife to give you support, and Alice was always there, and they were always just the greatest. Before I stop and stop rambling, I want to say, you know, I saw this really awesome picture of Lew in a pair of overalls, and I think Lew had this amazing ability to roll up his sleeves and just kind of get into the thick of things, and he was always busy. So I have very, very, very fond memories. I'll always remember Lew Holt. Should I play something? I should play something. Okay, I'll play something. The Golden Graham Company, General Mills made this cute commercial that I thought was kind of funny about the cereal, but I had no idea that it was this really cool hymn tune. But it really, it's a catchy tune, it's fun to dance to, it's called Golden Slippers.
Really a great honor to be here. To remember a guy that's probably been about as influential as anybody in my life. My name's Chris Boer. I'm from a little town called Yoncalla, Oregon. The oldest of 8 kids that my parents were sort of, when we were kids growing up, we grew up on a farm and we had to milk cows and do all these things. And we found out, when I was about 11 or 12 years of age, that if we would go out and play our instruments after lunch, that my parents would sort of forget about us. We didn't have to rush right out there and do those chores. So playing music was real beneficial for us. But in my musical career, I've had the privilege of playing around some really great great fiddle players. Mark O'Connor, and some of you may know, Johnny Gimbel a lot in the studio down in Texas. And I will tell you though, that nobody influenced our young lives like Lew Holt and Alice out there. I remember so many times at different jam sessions, and as I just have to second what I've heard already from Andy, and just these guys that were like pillars they were like giants to us. Buck Milligan and Lou and some of these other guys, Rusty Madrill, and Bill Yowie, and this young kid named Joey McKenzie that was kind of also sort of influential in our young lives. But these guys were willing to take us and make us feel like we were part of the world, part of the fiddling arena. And you know, we'd show up with instruments. We didn't know all the tunes, but they'd sit there painstakingly and teach us the chords. Remember those days? No, they didn't teach you the chords. That's the problem. But I mean, these guys were willing to sacrifice their time and pour into us. And we got to go a lot of places with that. I'm so thankful for those guys, and especially to Lou. I remember my family did a music camp every year for a few years down there in Scotts Valley. I don't know if any of you remember that, but Lou was always there, Lou and Alice, and he had that little, I think it was a trailer that you guys had, or an RV or something, and he did ham radio, if I'm not mistaken. And he would take us kids out there, I was about 13, 14, and he would teach us how he did the ham. He'd talk to somebody on the other side of the world, and we just thought that was the coolest, most amazing thing, and he'd show us how all that stuff worked. And I just got to tell you though, these guys are heroes. Lou is a hero to me. And for all us young folks, and I think the encouragement to all of you guys is that when somebody comes up to you and wants some help with something, just never say no. You know, of course, unless it's like, you know, filleting catfish or something, but fiddle, guitar, music is stuff that gets burned into us, and we get to take it everywhere. I've gotten to play fiddle in Africa. I've been to all over the country. My wife and I lived in Ukraine for a couple of years, and we got to play and sing all over the country of Ukraine and Poland, and I got to tell you that's you just never know where the instrument's going to take you. And so I'm so privileged to be able to stand here and pay a little homage to a really wonderful man, Lou, and to Alice as well. Good to see you, Alice. Let's play a little song called Faded Love. You guys remember Faded Love?
Oh, yeah.
Bob Wills tune. See if I can remember how it goes. I don't play very much anymore. I do a lot more work, but other than playing instruments. But anyway, here we go. We'll Faded Love.
have one more little anecdote, one more. I remember telling, Lew had a fantastic number of hobbies, and he pursued things with a really lovely relish, and pursued and went and learned so many things. And I remember telling Lew that I had Norwegian ancestors, and I remember saying, like, there's this really cool instrument. It's like the Norwegian fiddle. I think they called it the Hardingfele. And all of a sudden, I think about a week went by, and in the mailbox, here's this giant bunch of photocopies all about the North American Hardingfele Association in Minnesota. So once I told Lew that I had an interest in something, all of a sudden he pulled me into the fold and said, here, you got to learn about this. Here's this giant bunch of reading material that you can learn everything that he could share about something that we had we shared interest in. So I just can't say enough. It was really sweet things. So thank you, Lew.
When I first started, I started out playing a lot of old-time fiddle music, and I never really got away from it for a long time. And I learned some of the contest stuff, but I really like playing kind of like fast tunes and like little Irish tunes. And so this is a tune called The Contradiction. It just has P and A in it, but then it goes into a little double stream. So I thought we'd just play something fancy.
the theme song of the Oldtime Fiddlers.
and Tim. They're here for a few minutes anyway. And then I understand that then there'll be a circle jam now until 3 or 3:30, whenever we have to get out. So there you go. Thank you very much, and thank you, Alice and Steve and Tim for coming, and thank you for Lew, and always been for us all.